Hello there. Today we're going to be simplifying this equation here, or a division problem, into a single trig function with no fractions. Um, so I remember coming into class this day and learning. That day I thought I walked into a whole different class. I thought we were learning a new language, like Chinese. It was a very stressful moment. I understood nothing, or how we even got there. But anyway, once you just learn what these terms mean, how to rewrite them, everything becomes so much easier. For example, cosine is a basic term. That is data that we can extract from a triangle. That one's not too difficult. Tangent, now we're going somewhere. Tangent would be sine divided by cosine. So then we can rewrite this part now by its terms that make it up. So sine over cosine, and then reference angle t. So that's the bottom. Cosine is a basic term, so we can put that back up here again. Cosine. And secant. Now that's when we start to get tricky. So it turns out that cosine, the inverse of that would be cosine, reference angle, and secant would be the inverse. So 1 over cosine. So we have to rewrite this here in order to make sense and process what we have. 1 over cosine with reference angle t. Okay, so this is going to be a lot easier to work with because we have an equation that we know we have to do something with. We're going to multiply this part by the reciprocal here. So once we do the reciprocal of tan, we are invoking cotangent, which is the inverse of tangent. But that's not really going to be needed to solve this. That's just so you get used to the idea of rewriting every term into something you can process and further condense and simplify the function you have at the moment. So for this, we can clearly see that we have to find common denominators. So we're gonna go ahead and make this a fraction, and then make this into something we can actually work with by finding and multiplying by the common denominator. For this one, we can rewrite this as 1 cosine reference angle minus cosine t over 1. We're going to have to multiply this one by this, and then this by this. So that means this goes multiplied by cosine over 1. And then this is multiplied by that, which is just 1. Onto now, let's a split, because this is a new equation, that's the old one. So this, when multiplied, becomes squared. And now you have cosine times, this is all just one equation at the moment because we just made one denominator. They both have the same denominator, so it just becomes like 1 over 2 minus 2 over 2. We have the same denominator, and then we're multiplying times the inverse of this, which is the cotangent. Cosine t over And straight away we see that we can very simply cross this out. And then we have this left over. We have 1 minus cosine reference angle t over squared sine t. When we see here, we can use the trigonometric identity of 1 minus cosine squared, which is, we gotta remember this part, sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. When you move this around, subtract sine, and cosine squared equals 1 minus sine squared. In this case, we have the other situation. Cosine has been subtracted from 1. So that means we have sine squared as the equivalent of 1 minus cosine squared. So that means this equals sine squared t squared over sine. So this equals pretty much something like x squared over x. That means you just subtract one of the exponents. So this, we can erase this. This was just to visualize what we're doing. This becomes t. Let's just write that out better. Just sine t. Final answer, because we just canceled out that. And we got to cancel out that. Final answer, sine reference angle t. I hope that helped out.